DeAndre Swift last season in Philadelphia, 229 rush attempts, 1,049 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 39 receptions on 49 targets for 214 yards and one pass catching touchdown. Thoughts on DeAndre Swift?
He has upside of being able to put together some RB, some top 10 running back type weeks. And then you're going to have some that fall outside and you're looking at more RB3 type numbers. A lot of it's going to be up to the offensive line. And again, how much Caleb Williams is going to use him in the passing game. 39 reception is not going to get it done in Chicago. He needs to be much closer to the 62 receptions he had his sophomore year in Detroit to counteract the fact that I think he's going to struggle with his yards per carry. I think it's going to drop from 4.5, 4.6. I think you're going to be seeing him at like 3.8, 3.9, something like that, which doesn't seem like a huge difference when we're just talking about that. But over the course of 180 to 220 touches, depending on health, that adds up pretty quickly. So it's fair value, much like what we were talking about with Zach Moss. It is fair value right here. This is yet another guy. I think I still want Raheem over DeAndre Swift. Like, I like the excitement of the running game of Miami more so than the uncertainty of the entire offense and what that's going to look like under a rookie quarterback in Chicago.
I'm going to make a case against DeAndre Swift, and I'm going to make a case for DeAndre Swift. The case against DeAndre Swift has nothing to do with him as the player, but him as the contract he just signed, right? He was earning that contract last year in Philadelphia, right? Like that, and rightfully so. He gets paid because of what he has done. And he had a great season last year in Philadelphia. He gets rewarded with 3 years and 20 some odd $1 million from Chicago because of that. I like a hungry back, right? I like a guy who's on a contract here, especially for fantasy purposes, because that's what you're getting, right? You get that production. You'll see it more often than not that a guy looking for the next contract balls out, right? And then he gets that contract and maybe we're not balling out so hard, right? I'm not saying that that's going to be the case with DeAndre Swift, but it's happened once. It'll happen again. It could happen in this case. Now, the case that I'm going to make for DeAndre Swift isn't actually about him either. It is that Shane Waldron is the new OC in Chicago, and he came from Seattle. And what did he do in Seattle, where he had talented running backs on the roster and could have divvied up or spread out the wealth a little bit? But what did he do? He primarily had Kenneth Walker getting a lion's share of the carries there in Seattle last year. So that could bode well. If DeAndre Swift is the bell cow and they utilize him as such, because that's what Shane Waldron likes to do, then that's a case for him.
I think at best we may see him sneak up to RB 17 or 18 on the season. But I think more realistically, when it's all said and done, we're going to see him at the back half of RB2, closer to RB 22, 23, 24, kind of in that range there. So this is a guy that I certainly don't have a problem with where he's going and the draft capital being spent. But I may be looking a little different directions depending upon who's still on the board at that point.